There are moments in life when no matter how tightly you hold on, things still fall apart. You plan, you pray, you prepare, yet life unfolds in its own mysterious rhythm. And the harder you fight to control it, the heavier your soul becomes. But peace, real, lasting peace, begins the moment you stop trying to control what was never yours to command. There are moments in life when you must stand face to face with reality. Not the one you dreamed of, not the one you begged for, but the one that stands before you raw and undeniable. It's in those moments that your spirit trembles, because the human heart doesn't easily accept what it didn't choose. It fights, it resists, it wrestles with truth as though denial could somehow rewrite destiny. But life doesn't bend to our will. Life moves according to a rhythm far greater than our plans, and peace is born the very moment we stop fighting what is and begin to embrace what has come. Acceptance is not surrender to defeat, it is the beginning of understanding. It is the realization that you cannot walk through life dragging the weight of resistance behind you. Every why me becomes an anchor. Every this shouldn't have happened becomes a chain. And before you know it, you are trapped in the past while life moves on without you. Acceptance frees you from that prison. It teaches you that peace does not come from controlling life, but from flowing with it. When you accept what you cannot change, the noise within you begins to quiet and your soul finds room to breathe again. The world teaches us to fight everything, to resist pain, to reject disappointment, to deny endings. But what if peace isn't in the fight? What if peace is found in the soft surrender of your spirit, in the whispered truth that says, "This is what it is, and I will still rise"? Acceptance doesn't mean you agree with what happened. It means you choose to no longer let it define you. It means you stop arguing with life and start learning from it, because every experience, no matter how painful, carries a message meant to shape you, not to destroy you. When you practice acceptance, you begin to see that every closed door was never rejection, but redirection. You begin to realize that every heartbreak was not a punishment, but a lesson in love. You understand that every loss you've endured has carved space for something new to grow. Acceptance is not blind tolerance, it's enlightened vision. It's when you stop asking life to be easy and start asking yourself to be stronger. Peace does not live in perfection, it lives in alignment. When your heart accepts what your mind cannot yet understand, something miraculous happens. Your suffering begins to lose its power. Because resistance feeds pain and acceptance starves it. You start to feel lighter, freer, clearer. You no longer waste energy trying to rewrite what has already been written. You simply say, "I trust that there's purpose in this." And somehow, in the mystery of faith, that purpose begins to reveal itself. Acceptance is the doorway to peace because it closes the gap between what you want and what is. It allows you to live fully in the present instead of dwelling in the ruins of yesterday. It teaches you that peace is not waiting for a perfect circumstance. Peace is choosing calm even when the storm rages. The power to accept is the power to free yourself from everything that seeks to control your emotions. It's the inner knowing that though you can't change the past, you can change how you carry it. When you stop demanding that life look a certain way, you open yourself to the beauty of what it already is. When you stop waiting for things to be different, you begin to appreciate the quiet miracles unfolding right where you are. Acceptance turns bitterness into wisdom, chaos into clarity, and fear into trust. It transforms you from a victim of circumstance into a vessel of peace. Because acceptance is not weakness. It is courage, it is strength, it is grace in motion. It is the soul finally learning to rest in what is, instead of fighting for what was. There comes a point in every journey when you must face the truth that your strength alone is not enough to shape the storm. You've tried to push, to pull, to fix, to force, and yet life continues to move in a direction you can't fully grasp. You lose sleep over what you can't change. You question your faith. You wonder why the more you fight, the heavier it feels. But the moment you stop trying to control every outcome, the moment you loosen your grip and let life flow, that's when real power begins to reveal itself. Surrender is not defeat, it is divine alignment. It is the choice to rise above chaos by trusting the process you cannot yet see. Surrender does not mean quitting. It means choosing peace over panic. It means standing tall in the middle of uncertainty and saying, "I may not know how, but I know I will." It is courage dressed in stillness. Most people misunderstand surrender. They think it's a sign of weakness, a final act of resignation. But surrender is strength refined by wisdom. It is the moment when you stop fighting against what is and begin to align with what can be. It's when your soul whispers, "Let go of your timeline and let life reveal its design." In the quiet act of surrender, you begin to understand that control is often an illusion. You cannot control the weather, the actions of others, or the pace of destiny. But you can control how you respond. You can choose not to drown in the current, but to flow with it. Surrender teaches you that rising above is not about domination, it's about elevation. A shift from resistance to trust, from chaos to clarity. You rise not by fighting harder, but by releasing the weight that keeps you bound to what no longer serves your growth. Surrender allows the heart to rest. Because constant control is exhausting. It drains your spirit, it dims your light, it blinds you to the blessings waiting in the shadows. When you surrender, you exchange exhaustion for peace. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" That question changes everything. It shifts you from victimhood to vision. It transforms pain into purpose, delay into direction, and fear into faith. True surrender is not passive, it is active participation in life's rhythm. It means showing up each day with open hands and a willing heart. It means doing your best, but releasing the need to control the rest. You plant the seed, but you stop forcing it to bloom. You trust the soil, the sun, the timing. You stop doubting whether good things will come and start believing that they already are. Surrender is the act of saying, "Even if I can't see it, I still trust it." And in that faith, you find freedom. When you surrender, you rise above the noise. The opinions of others lose their grip. The fear of failure begins to fade. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop demanding and start receiving. You stop surviving and start living. Because surrender is the bridge between chaos and peace, between confusion and clarity. It's the sacred pause that allows grace to enter where your struggle once lived. Many people live their whole lives trying to control everything around them, only to realize they've lost control of themselves. But the moment you surrender, the moment you release what you cannot command, your inner world becomes still again. Your soul realigns with the rhythm of something far greater than your fear. And in that stillness, you discover that life has always been guiding you, even through what you thought was failure. Surrender opens your eyes to the truth that you were never meant to carry it all alone. Surrender is not giving up. It's rising above the illusion that you must. It's stepping into a higher awareness where peace is not earned through struggle, but received through trust. It's the power of knowing that letting go doesn't mean losing. It means allowing what's meant for you to finally find its way. Because when you surrender, you don't fall. You rise beyond the reach of chaos, into the calm strength of your true self. Faith is not born in comfort. It is forged in the dark, in moments when you can't see the next step, when every door seems closed, and when silence feels like the only answer you're getting. It's easy to say you believe when the road is clear and the blessings are visible, but real faith begins where sight ends. Faith is walking through the fog and trusting that each step will appear only when it's time to take it. It's the quiet conviction that even when life feels uncertain, something greater is still guiding your path. There are seasons in life when you will have no proof that things are working out. You will pray and the heavens will seem silent. You will work hard and nothing will move. You will hope and still it will look as if hope has turned its back on you. That's where faith enters, not as a feeling but as a decision. A decision to trust that there is purpose in the pause, meaning in the waiting, and growth in the unseen. Faith whispers, keep walking. The light will meet you further down the road. The unseen path is the path of transformation. It strips you of control, it challenges your patience, and it asks you to trust what you cannot predict. Most people want clarity before they move, but faith says move first, and clarity will follow. Faith doesn't eliminate fear, it teaches you to move through it. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. Because the step you take in faith opens the next one. Each act of trust builds a bridge between where you are and where destiny is leading you. Trusting the unseen path means learning to be still in uncertainty. It means not letting confusion steal your calm. It means saying, I may not know what's next, but I know who's leading me. Faith is the language of the heart, not the logic of the mind. The mind demands evidence, but the soul knows that truth often hides beyond sight. When you trust without seeing, you show life that you are ready for what's waiting. You stop fighting the unknown and start flowing with it. You begin to see that every detour, every delay, every disappointment has been preparing you for something deeper. Faith is what keeps you standing when reason says you should give up. It is what lifts your chin when everything in you wants to bow in defeat. It's the still voice that says, keep going. This chapter is not the end. Faith is the light that flickers even when the winds of doubt blow hardest. You don't have to understand how everything will work out. You only have to believe that it will. The unseen path is rarely straight. It twists, it turns, it tests you. But every twist carries a lesson, every turn hides a blessing, and every test reveals your strength. There will be moments when you feel lost, when the road ahead disappears into darkness. But faith doesn't ask you to see the end. It asks you to trust the journey, because the path you can't see with your eyes is often the one your spirit already knows. Faith turns confusion into curiosity, fear into fuel, and waiting into preparation. It teaches you that what looks like delay is often divine timing, and what feels like loss is often divine protection. Faith is trusting that even the broken pieces are part of the masterpiece. It's believing that the hands that hold the universe also hold you. When you choose faith, you choose peace over panic, purpose over pressure, surrender over struggle. You begin to live with open hands instead of clenched fists. You stop demanding answers and start embracing trust. Because the unseen path may not show you everything, but it will always lead you to exactly where you're meant to be. Faith is trusting the unseen path, trusting that there is beauty in the unknown, that there is guidance in the silence, and that even when you cannot trace the plan, you can still trust the promise. The journey may not unfold as you imagined, but every step you take in faith draws you closer to the place where everything begins to make sense, and where your heart finally understands why it had to trust what it could not see. There is a sacred strength in learning how to let go without closing your heart. Detachment is not a wall you build, it is a doorway you open, one that leads to peace, clarity, and inner freedom. The world often confuses detachment with indifference, as if to detach means to stop caring, to stop feeling, to become numb to life. But that is not the truth. True detachment is not coldness. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing that your peace does not depend on anyone or anything outside of you. It is the art of loving fully without losing yourself in the process. When you are attached, you cling. You hold people, outcomes, and expectations so tightly that you begin to suffocate your own spirit. You try to control what's meant to flow. You try to force what's meant to unfold naturally. Attachment whispers, I'll only be okay when things go my way. Detachment, however, says, I am okay, regardless of how things go. One comes from fear, the other from faith. When you detach, you stop making your happiness conditional. You stop waiting for the world to act right before you allow yourself to feel whole. Detachment is freedom because it allows you to stay centered while everything around you shifts. Life will always move. People will come and go. Seasons will change. Circumstances will rise and fall. When you're attached, every change feels like chaos. But when you are detached, change becomes flow. You no longer drown in the tide of emotions every time something doesn't go as planned. You learn to breathe underwater. You stop chasing and start allowing. You realize that peace was never about controlling the storm. It was about learning how to stay calm within it. Many people mistake detachment for a lack of love, but the truth is, detachment is the highest form of love, because it is love without possession, without control, without fear. It says, I love you enough to let you be who you are. I care enough to give you space. I value myself enough to keep my peace. This kind of love doesn't demand, it respects. It doesn't cling, it allows. Detachment teaches you that love is not about holding on tighter, but about holding on lighter. You begin to understand that you can care deeply for people and still not let their chaos consume your peace. Detachment also means releasing the need to prove, to please, to persuade. You no longer tie your worth to how others see you or how much they choose you. You stop chasing validation because you realize that your value doesn't fluctuate based on external approval. You become rooted in self-awareness, grounded in self-respect, and anchored in truth. Detachment doesn't make you colder. It makes you clearer. It removes the fog of emotional dependency and helps you see people, situations, and life itself as they truly are, not as your fears or desires paint them to be. When you practice detachment, you begin to trust life's rhythm. You stop grasping at control and start flowing with divine timing. You realize that everything that's meant for you will come, and everything that's not will fall away. You stop trying to rewrite the script of destiny, and instead learn to dance with what's unfolding. Detachment frees you from the pain of resistance. It lets you accept endings without resentment and embrace beginnings without fear. It allows you to exist in harmony with what is, rather than being enslaved by what you wish it would be. True detachment requires strength, not apathy. It takes courage to walk away from what drains you, to say no to what disrupts your peace, to allow things to be what they are without demanding they become what you want. It takes wisdom to know that some battles are won through release, not resistance. Detachment is not about distancing yourself from life. It's about engaging with life from a place of inner balance. You still love, you still care, you still give, but you do it from overflow, not from emptiness. Detachment is freedom because it liberates your heart from dependency, your mind from obsession, and your spirit from control. It allows you to move through the world without being moved by everything in it. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop gripping and start gliding. You stop needing and start being. Detachment is not coldness, it is warmth guided by wisdom. It is the calm knowing that you can love without losing yourself, give without being drained, and live without being enslaved to what you cannot control. Focus on what you can shape. Yourself. There comes a time in every person's life when they must stop reaching outward and start looking inward. You spend so much of your energy trying to fix, change, and influence the world around you. People, situations, outcomes. But the truth is, the only thing truly within your power to shape is yourself. You can't control how others treat you, what life throws at you, or how the world unfolds. But you can control how you respond, how you grow, and how you carry yourself through it all. The moment you understand this, peace finds you. Because power, real power, begins the day you stop trying to shape the world and start shaping your own soul. It is easy to point at the chaos outside and forget the quiet work that must be done inside. The mind wants to fix others because it fears facing itself. But every time you try to change someone else, you lose a piece of your energy that could have been used to strengthen you. Growth does not begin when the world becomes calm. Growth begins when you learn how to stay calm in the world's storm. You cannot force others to see your worth, but you can deepen it. You cannot demand respect, but you can embody it. You cannot control love, but you can become so full of it that it radiates from you naturally. The work is always within. The peace you seek comes from mastering your own emotions, your own thoughts, your own reactions. When you stop trying to fix the unfixable and start nurturing your own character, something begins to shift. The noise outside no longer shakes you, the opinions of others no longer define you, and the unpredictable nature of life no longer destroys your balance. Because you realize that everything you need to create a better life already lives inside you. The task is not to chase control, but to cultivate strength, patience, and clarity from within. To focus on yourself is not selfishness. It is self-respect. It is choosing to pour into the only vessel you've been given to navigate this life. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot build others while neglecting the foundation of your own soul. When you focus on shaping yourself, you start to become the kind of person who attracts peace instead of conflict, purpose instead of confusion, and love instead of dependency. You stop reacting to the world and start responding to it from a place of power. The strongest people are not those who try to control the world. They are those who have learned to control themselves. They understand that their mind is a garden. If they plant negativity, it will grow. If they plant gratitude, it will flourish. They understand that no amount of blame or anger can change another person, but a moment of introspection can transform everything within. The more you master yourself, the less life can shake you. The more you discipline your emotions, the freer you become. Because freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is being unshaken no matter what happens. When you focus on shaping yourself, you become aware of the stories you tell yourself daily. You begin to notice the thoughts that limit you, the fears that hold you, the habits that drain you. And instead of running from them, you face them. You begin to build the kind of strength that cannot be given and cannot be taken away. You realize that success is not in controlling outcomes, but in controlling effort, not in changing others, but in changing how you see them. Every experience, even the painful ones, becomes a mirror showing you where you still have growing to do. Life becomes simpler when you focus on yourself. You stop waiting for others to apologize, to notice, to change, to come through. You stop chasing validation because you already know your worth. You stop getting lost in what's beyond your reach because you finally understand that all real power begins at the center of your being. Focusing on yourself is not withdrawal from the world. It is preparation to engage with it more wisely. When you master your reactions, strengthen your mind, and nurture your peace, you become unstoppable. Focus on what you can shape yourself. Because when you rise, everything around you begins to shift. When you heal, the energy in your life begins to align. When you grow, what once felt impossible begins to move in your favor. The world changes the moment you do. Your inner work becomes the seed from which your outer world blossoms. And the more you pour into yourself, the less the world can take from you, for you finally understand that your true power has always been within. A gratitude turns uncertainty into grace. When life feels uncertain, when the ground beneath your feet begins to shift and the path ahead disappears into fog, gratitude becomes your anchor. Gratitude doesn't erase the storm. It teaches you how to dance in the rain. It doesn't make pain pleasant, but it transforms pain into purpose. When you choose gratitude, you shift your focus from what's missing to what remains, from fear to faith, from confusion to clarity. Gratitude has the power to take the unknown and turn it into something sacred. It turns uncertainty into grace because it allows your spirit to rest even when your mind cannot see the way forward. There are moments when life will not make sense. You will pray for answers and receive silence. You will give your best and still fall short. You will try to control the outcome, only to watch it unfold in a direction you didn't expect. But even then, gratitude whispers, look closer. There's still something beautiful here. Gratitude teaches you that even in chaos, there are blessings that do not move. The breath in your body, the lessons in your pain, the love that still surrounds you. When you start to notice those small lights, even in your darkest moments, your heart begins to soften and the heavy burden of uncertainty begins to lift. Gratitude is a perspective, not a reaction. It's easy to be grateful when everything is going right, but the true test of the heart is to be grateful when nothing seems to make sense. It's the power to look at the storm and say, even here, I am being shaped for something greater. That's what turns uncertainty into grace. The ability to find meaning before the miracle appears. Because gratitude doesn't wait for proof, it creates it. The moment you choose to be thankful, your energy shifts, your perception widens, and your spirit aligns with peace. Uncertainty is not your enemy, it's a teacher. It strips away your illusion of control and invites you to trust something greater than yourself. Gratitude helps you accept that lesson with humility instead of fear. It reminds you that just because you don't know how the story will unfold doesn't mean it won't end beautifully. Gratitude takes your hands off the wheel and places them in prayer, not in surrender to weakness, but in surrender to wisdom. It allows you to trust that what feels like delay might be divine timing, and what feels like loss might be redirection. When you practice gratitude, even the smallest blessings become enough. You begin to see that you've already survived what once felt impossible. You begin to understand that grace is not something you earn. It's something you receive when your heart chooses appreciation over anxiety. Gratitude doesn't change the facts of your situation, but it changes how those facts affect you. It shifts your attention from the problem to the lesson, from the waiting to the becoming. It's not denial of reality. It's the elevation of perspective. Gratitude turns uncertainty into grace because it makes room for faith. It reminds you that your blessings didn't vanish just because your plans did. It opens your eyes to the quiet miracles, the people who love you, the opportunities you didn't see before, the strength that kept you standing when you thought you'd fall. When you stop asking, why me, and start saying, thank you for the strength to endure this, you step into a higher consciousness where peace lives. Every uncertain season is an invitation to grow in gratitude. You may not know what's ahead, but you can give thanks for the fact that you're still here, breathing, learning, evolving. You can be grateful for the wisdom that comes through waiting, for the clarity that comes through struggle, for the faith that grows in the dark. Gratitude doesn't ignore uncertainty, it transforms it. It turns every unanswered question into a lesson in patience, every closed door into protection, and every detour into divine guidance. When life feels uncertain, gratitude becomes the light that leads you home to yourself. It softens the edges of fear and turns your waiting into worship. It teaches you that grace is not found in having all the answers, but in trusting that you are guided